Shalom. First, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. And Shalom to the 144,000 elect. I am Mayakala. And this is going to be part 22 on the series that I've been doing on how do I know that I'm a Hebrew Israelite, or how do I know that we are the Hebrew Israelites. And when I say we, I'm referring to the so-called blacks, the Hispanics, and the natives of this land that you call America. And we're winding down on this because we've gone over a lot of information, and just at the end part of this, that we've already covered the curses. We've covered the progenitors or the fathers that make up the 12 tribes of the nation. So I just wanted to basically go over where these peoples are today and what their Hebrew names are. And that'll be it. Maybe give just a little bit of information on them, but I'm not going really detailed into this. Just want to basically stress that we know where they are, where they dwell, who they are today, and what lands they are in. So I'm going to go into the book of Genesis, chapter 49, where we've been, because it gives a description of these peoples so that you get an understanding of where they are today. And we're only going to cover 4 of the tribes just in the interest of time, because I don't want to make this too long. So we've already covered 4. I'm going to cover 4 today. And Lord willing, in the future we'll be able to cover the last 4. So this should not be very long. And we last left off right around verse 13, which talks about the tribe of Zebulun. And this is Genesis 49, verse 13. It says, Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Sidon. All right. And the Hebrew name for Zebulun is Zebulun, which means dwelling. And it says he should be for a haven for ships, because these are the peoples of Panama and Guatemalans. And in past times they were called the Mayans. And that word dweller in Hebrew means spring. And it is a haven for sea, as it's dealing with the Panama Canal. And that's exactly what we see. We see that it is a haven for ships, because ships come in and out of that port. And in fact, that port is responsible for a lot of goods that transfer from eastern part of the world to the western part of the world. All right, and it provides a passageway from the eastern into the western part of the world. So a lot of ships pass through there. And I just wanted to look at that word Sidon, because it says, and his border shall be unto Sidon. And I'm going to go into the blue letter. And just get a definition of what that word means, and I'll give you a pronunciation of it also. And it is H6721.
Strong's H6721. Sidon. Sidon.
And it says, ancient Phoenician city on the Mediterranean coast, north of Tyre. And then Strong's definition says, well, I'm out in the sun, so it's kind of hard to see. It says, the sense of catching fish, fishery. Sidon, the name of a son of Canaan and of a place in Palestine. So, and of course, with it being a port, of course, it's surrounded by water. Panama and Guatemala are surrounded by water. All right. It says a sense of catching fish. So, of course, a lot of fishing goes on there. And we're going to move right on to the next one. Like I said, I'm not going to give a whole lot of information on it. Just going to read Genesis 49, description of who these peoples are. And the next one that we're going to go into is Issachar. And Genesis 49 verse 14 says, Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens. And these would be what we call Mexicans today. And in the Hebrew, their names would be Issachar, which means he is hired. It says, verse 15, it says, and he saw that the rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulders to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. And if you know anything about the Mexican people, they are very hard-working people. I mean, as we see what's going on right now with a lot of these people being being invaded by ICE, and ICE is making an attempt to send these people back to their homelands. A lot of them are afraid to go and do the jobs that they've been doing. A lot of the jobs that they do happen to do with farming, happen to do would be the ones who go in and plant and harvest fruits and vegetables. A lot of that work is the work that people in America don't want to do, and these people would do it because they're hard-working people. They will work up from sun up to sundown. And where it's back in verse 14, where it speaks of crouching down between two burdens, as we know, Mexico is in between. Even though it is a part of North America, but it is basically in between the United States, North America, and South America. So that's what it means when it says crouching down between two burdens. So, like I said, it means that he is hired. All right, and that's what happens here. They come to this land, and because they make themselves available for less than the minimum wage. That's what ends up happening. A lot of these farmers end up hiring them and bringing them on because they know that they can save money, and Americans don't want to do these jobs or will not do these jobs. I'm going to move on to the next one, and I'm going to go ahead and read Dan. So back in Genesis 49 verse 16, it says, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, and an adder in the path that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord Yahweh. Now, I'm not going to go detailed into Dan, only because the simple fact that the tribe of Dan has been mixed in amongst the other tribes. So you won't see Dan as being one of the tribes of the nation of Israel, because they are not one of the tribes. Like I said, they've been mixed in amongst the other tribes. All right. So I'm just going to go on. I'm going to go on to verse 19. It says, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. And Gad, which are the North American Indian, what you call the North American Indians today, and in the Hebrew it is pronounced Gad, which means troop. All right. And the troop that they overcame was the North, or that they fought with and were massacred by would be the North American cavalry troops. Salakia for the noise in the background. That's a gaggle of geese flying around here. All right, and I'm not gonna go real detailed on the tribe of Gad, because like I said, they are what we call the North American Indians today. So they reside within the United States, and there are some of the tribe of Gad in Canada. And just reading on, down to verse 20, it says, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. All right. And the people of Asher are the people that are in Colombia to Uruguay. And in the Hebrew, their name is Issachar, which means happy. All right. And this is a people who, like I said, dwelling in Colombia and Uruguay. And when it talks about royal dainties, it's referring to their diet, the types of food that they eat, because of the area that they are in. They happen to have a diet which consists of a lot of bread, foods, and grains. A lot of fat in the foods. They eat foods that are very fatty and very rich and very robust. And for that reason, you can even see it in those people. They're very stout and robust people. And even that word dainties itself is referring to Mardi Gras. And if you know anything about the Mardi Gras, you know that it is a word that's meaning French. In French, it means Fat Tuesday. So if you know anything about Mardi Gras, or if you ever been to New Orleans and been involved with that Mardi Gras, you know it's a night of eating. It'll be like the last night of eating rich and fatty foods before what they call Lent. When in Lent they go and deprive themselves of one of their favorite things that they like to indulge in. All right. So like I said, I'm going to keep this short, not going to get too detailed into it. And this will be, Lord willing, I'll be able to bring out a fourth part, and we'll go over the remaining 4 tribes of Israel. But for now, I'm going to end this here, and I pray that this has been edifying to the listeners. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.